don't know what I'm going to say, but I guess.
Welcome to Touchdown Nerdcast, featuring Frank, Jordan, and the Pump. There is no Jordan today. We decided it was best for the podcast to cut ties with him, and he'll only be invited back on guest appearances. Frank, you did the programming for today's episode. What is today's episode about?
Running backs. We're talking running backs. Fumbles, touchdowns, carries, you name it. Anything you want to know, we're going to talk about it.
I like it. Anything you want to know, we will talk about it.
Yep.
All
First
there
off,
is to know.
Before we get into it, we had
Okay.
somebody text into the show
Okay.
about a lineup question.
Okay.
So right now, they've got in their starting lineup Jordan Love. Obviously, you can't touch that at this point. Kyron Williams, Jerome Ford, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, George Kittle, Puka Nacua, Raheem Mostert, the Chiefs D, and Jake Elliott at kicker. On his bench, he's got Josh Jacobs, Lamar Jackson, Chris Godwin, the Bills defense, Hunter Henry, Devon A-Chain, and Adam Thielen. Would you make any changes to that lineup?
Like add any players or start any players?
Yeah, would you swap out, say, Jerome Ford for Josh Jacobs or A-Chain, or let it roll as is?
Let it roll as is.
Yeah, you feel
This
confident in that?
this league sounds like there's not that many teams without knowing
There's
the
8
details.
teams,
Okay,
from what I'm told.
that would make sense with how loaded up that lineup is.
Yeah.
I would
All right.
leave it as is.
Yeah, I tended to side with you on that. Preliminarily told the texter the same.
Yeah, I feel like there's all studs in that starting lineup. And based on that bench, I think you have to see it consistently. Like Devon A-Chan and Josh Jacobs are not trustworthy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would side with Josh Jacobs, knowing what he can do after seeing what he did last year. But I think that offense with Jimmy G at the helm is just not as potent.
I need to see it work 1 week before I start Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, good.
What was the name of that team? You don't have to say the owner.
Let's see if I can see a team name. I can. Oh, Kim Jong-un Clubhouse. I believe he's a current service member, perhaps stationed over there. So,
okay.
hats off to the veterans.
Yeah. Let's thank our country's veterans. Veterans Day was like a couple months away, a month and a half away, but great. Is there any more fan mail?
Let me just double check real quick. I think that's all I had for the early slate. We tend to get more towards Sunday. Yeah, I think that's it for now.
Okay.
How's your season turning out so far?
Bad. Yeah.
It's been an odd season to start. I don't know what it is about this year, but I feel like there's a lot of low scoring fantasy outputs. A lot of just disappointing things. A lot of people are drafting guys like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase early on. Finally, Jamar had a decent week this past week, but I believe still no touchdown, and he, is fighting something with Burrow. I don't know what's going on with Burrow, but maybe his ankle is still bothering him. There's a lot of guys, like you said, with Josh Jacobs and
yeah, for sure at the running back position too. The running backs have been like only CMC and Raheem Mostert. Everybody else has kind of been up and down. QBs, you're like, if you look at the top ranked QBs right now, you're like, who's at the top of the leaderboard? Who are these studs that are at the bottom of the leaderboard? Like,
I was ready to punt Raheem Mostert after his career so far, and never thought he'd be leading the way.
Right. So
in terms of
that's one of the most interesting things in our league is that Joe decided to keep Raheem Mostert and Adam Thielen, and they've been good.
It's working out for him, for sure.
I was talking to him before he selected his keepers, and he wasn't mentioning them. And then when the day came where he's like, all right, put him in, he's like, I'm keeping Raheem Mostert and Adam Thielen. I was like, whoa.
Get some inside information, huh?
He has Mike McDaniel's phone number or something.
Yeah, must.
Yeah. It's been a wacky start to the season.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence has not been playing well.
Oh God.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's not played well.
After that first game, I thought they were going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dak has been up or down the past few years, so that's understandable. But I thought T-Law was going to turn the corner. I mean, he had over 4,000 yards last year and decent amount of touchdowns. And you add a guy like Calvin Ridley, and it starts to feel pretty good.
Right. You would expect Trevor Lawrence to have, like, after having a great second season, that he would be the same, if not better. To be fair, I think he's played some better defenses than what we originally thought. I think Christian, what's his face, Jones, coming back from Kansas City, really improved their defense. I think the Houston Texans defensive line is playing a lot better than they did last year. So I think there's still... you and I were talking about this earlier, of QBs of that class. I still think Trevor Lawrence is going to be just fine of the five. I think Mac Jones is like a game manager, and I feel like Trey Lance and Justin Fields' future is more uncertain now than it ever has been, and Zach Wilson is just hot dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, no one ever felt too good about him unless you were a Jets fan. Even then, I'm not so sure. I think the boat might have sailed on Trey Lance, losing out on the dream job to Mr. Irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, it's
yeah. Brock Purdy, I guess, was that draft too. Was he?
Yeah, well,
was he?
He might have been last year.
Last year? Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Sure.
I saw an interesting stat that was Jordan Love has thrown the most incatchable passes of any QB this season, which is interesting to see that. Like, yeah, he's got the Packers to a 2-1 start. He's thrown, 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. Because I think he just threw one tonight. Only 1 interception. So I thought that was an interesting stat. He's missing his targets more than anybody else in the league, but somehow not throwing interceptions. Which is great. I wish Justin Fields would miss his throws a little bit worse because he's throwing picks every other chance he just got the ball.
He's been turning it over a lot, huh? Pretty disappointing so far. But not to say we didn't see it coming. No. We talked about it at length.
Yeah, he has yet to prove himself as a passer at any point in his career, so it's not surprising at all. Okay, you want to dive into some running backs?
Let's dive right in. So, the thing that we're looking for
Let's call this segment the running back dive.
I like that. Trademark that. So, I just got one more stat to put in. Okay, fun fact. Before tonight's games, we had 42 running backs score a touchdown on offense so far this season, whether it's rushing or receiving. I'm not counting special teams. I'm not counting any fumble recoveries. I'm just counting rushing and receiving.
42 running backs have scored a touchdown.
42
okay.
in the league. I was kind of surprised. I thought that was kind of low. But I guess that's not bad. 3 weeks in. Let's get into it. So our guy who actually in the league has the best touchdown rate on rushes is none other than a rookie, Tank Bigsby.
What?
He's had 9 carries and scored 2 touchdowns.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm seeing the stat now. I have it pulled up. That's pretty good.
20% touchdown rate on rushes. I mean, granted, he doesn't have the volume yet, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
He better keep that rate up, but it's right now leads the leaderboard for rushes. And then you've got Bijan Robinson all the way at the bottom, who has yet to score a touchdown on the ground, despite having 39 carries. So we're waiting to see what he can do.
Okay.
2 rookies. He's got 1 touchdown through the air, though. Receiving, he's got the 14 receptions, 1 touchdown. So for a total of 53 touches. So his overall touchdown percentage on touches is just under 2%. So he's actually coming in at 36th overall for running backs. Could be worse. He's actually a step ahead of Derrick Henry, believe it or not, who's got 56 touches and 1 touchdown total. I thought that was a little surprising. It could be the start of the downfall of Mr. Consistent Derrick Henry. I mean, we saw Derrick Henry actually he's got no fumbles so far this season, but last season he had 6 fumbles. Kind of concerning. So
yeah.
I'm waiting for the rookie to take the reins, and I think it'll be soon.
How many touches did you say Bijan had?
Bijan Robinson has 53 touches, 14 receptions, 39 carries.
Gotcha.
1 touchdown through the air.
Gotcha.
So he's pretty far down there. For our total touchdowns percentage based on total touches. Once again, it's still Tank Bigsby, but that's a small sample size. Then you've got second place Jerick McKinnon, but he's only got 10 touches. And then you got Aaron Jones third with 11 touches. Aaron Jones has kind of surprised me, but I know he's been hurt. I thought his usage is way down, so it's definitely a product of being injured.
Yeah.
And then to round out our top five, so our fifth, we got Tank Bigsby number 1, Jerick McKinnon number 2, Aaron Jones number 3.
Okay.
Number 5 is Jaleel McLaughlin. Okay. 7 total touches.
I can't say I even know who this guy is.
Yeah, I've never heard of him either. So he's not fantasy relevant. 7 touches through 3 games, but a guy that might still surprise you considering he got his first real work this past game, and that's Devin A-Chain. Who's got a just under 17% touchdown rate on all his touches. He's already compiled 24 touches, and he's got 4 touchdowns. I know it was kind of a big game, historic game all around for Miami's offense. I don't expect that to maintain there, but I do think that he is electric, and given the workload, I think he'll start eating into whatever his name is, Raheem Mostert, his workload eventually. I think he's more efficient in the receiving game, and I think he brings more to the table as a dynamic player. Not to take anything away from Mostert to start the season. You know, he's got 51 touches and already 7 touchdowns for a touchdown rate of just under 14%. Yeah, it's looking good. Good. That's what I like to hear.
Devon, I heard he pronounces his name A-Chan. A-Chain. It's not A-Chain, it's like A-Chan.
Oh. I always hear an H-Chain.
Yep. I think we all were on that. Yeah, that one game was probably a statistical anomaly. And nobody will be able to hold up 4 touchdowns in a game consistently. But I do agree that I think his workload will start to increase and Mostert's will come down based on that performance. And if Miami's offense continues to be robust, that I think he'll get his opportunity. I think he's it's only one game, so I'm a little nervous to put him into my lineup this week. Would you put him into your starting lineup this week?
I would.
Yeah.
I think they're playing Buffalo, right? And that could be a tough matchup. And if they do go down at all, fall behind in the scoring, they're going to want to pass the ball. And like I said, I think he's the more dynamic receiver between him and Mostert. Let's see how many catches. So far, Mostert's got 10 catches through 3 games.
A-Chan's 5 for 5. Mostert's 10 for 10.
Yeah, but once again, A-Chain's got those 5 catches pretty much in one game.
Yeah, that's why I'm nervous to start him this week. I'd like to see another week out of him.
I mean, I agree, but I think he's worth the risk. If you've got him on your bench and you're rolling out, deciding between him and a Josh Jacobs,
right.
I'm going to take the rookie. I think that.
Right. To be fair, running backs have not been great this year, and so
they have.
Like 1 touchdown could make you relevant. So he's got that home run ability. So fair enough.
I just want to see one stat. Okay, so he was inactive game 1, game 2, he had 1 carry and 1 reception. So the bulk of his workload, he's finally let off the leash. We'll see. Maybe some bad luck, but he definitely put on a show, and I see no reason to. Yeah, you're not going to expect 200 yards receiving every game, or rushing, but I see no reason why he can't put up still 70 yards, even if Mostert's getting the start.
Okay.
Let's see. Just some other notable players in our top touchdown rates. We got Pierre Strong again on a smaller workload. He's only had 8 touches, so I won't consider him. Kyron Williams has a touchdown rate of 8.5%, 47 touches. That's not too shabby.
That's pretty good.
He was a guy who I wasn't looking at coming into the season, and definitely has gotten my notice. Has 55 touches and 4 touchdowns so far. The touchdown rate's just over 7%.
Who is that?
It's not too bad either. Kenneth Walker, the third.
Kenneth Walker. Okay.
So he's doing work so far. And a guy that kind of surprised me is, once again, he hasn't had the largest workload, but that's Damian Harris. He's got a touchdown percentage just under 7%. So only 15 touches, but we'll see if that increases, knowing that he's got a nose for the end zone.
So it's definitely like goal line usage. So these are guys who are getting carries probably inside the 5-yard line, more than likely. That's got to be why Tanks Bigsby's rate is there, why Damian Harris is there. Like, the Bills have given the majority of the carries to James Conner. They have Latavius Murray and Damian Harris, who've combined for 26 touches, and they have 3 touchdowns between them. So it's definitely a goal line package where these guys are getting the ball inside the red zone.
I'm here.
You said they have a combined how many touches?
26 and 3 touchdowns.
Maybe just rushing or rushes?
Or 13.
I'm seeing that James
just 13.
Conner has
just 13. That's what I'm saying. Just rushing attempts, not touches.
Okay, I'm seeing James Conner has 51 rushing attempts.
Yeah, I'm not talking about James Conner. Latavius Murray and Damian Harris.
Oh, okay. I thought you said James Conner. Latavius, 13 rushes and
2 touchdowns. Same thing. Damian Harris, 13 rushes, 1 touchdown. And then between the two of them, they've got 6 catches.
I will say one guy who obviously no one's sleeping on. He's already been picked up in every league. Jerome Ford. Jordan spent his load on Jerome Ford last week.
Had
Great
to.
But his usage is, it backs up you spending the money. Not only is his touchdown rate 16th in the league right now out of running backs, he's got, he's scoring on 6.5% of his touches. He's already got 46 touches, and that's coming, he didn't start getting the full workload through halfway through the second game. So that's up there in terms of touches. Hold on, let's see where that ranks. I mean, it's 19th in the league. But you're behind guys like Tony Pollard. You're ahead of guys Saquon Barkley, Cam Akers, obviously, Austin Eckler. I know some of these guys have been hurt, but it's still promising. I think he's in for a big season as long as he stays healthy.
I agree. I think Chubb was going to be like a top 10 running back, we assumed. I think Jerome Ford stays in that same range, maybe top 15, if the usage trends like it has these first 2 games without Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford is currently in our league 10th overall, so adds up. We'll see how Kareem Hunt affects that usage, but Kareem Hunt's contract is signed to be, the money they're giving him is more like a backup, so we'll see exactly how much he actually does. Did you look into fumbles at all?
I did. Of all of the players that have scored, of all the running backs that have scored a touchdown, no one has more than one fumble, and that's counting all fumbles, whether they lost it or not.
It's kind of a crazy stat.
Yeah. And actually, okay, so 42 guys, running backs, have scored an offensive touchdown. Only 9 of them have a fumble.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that's not counting today's game. I haven't looked to see what's happened today.
I don't think anyone's fumbled the ball today yet. All I know is David Montgomery is torching me in my league.
I like to hear that. You know me, I was at the start of the season. I was big on Montgomery, and I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was being overvalued. So I like to see it.
I don't like to see David Montgomery doing things.
Yeah, I bet you guys don't like to see Roshan Johnson doing things either. So I got tab open for him. He's my boy. Ooh, Montgomery.
Just crushing
22
it.
carries. Gibbs is 8. 2 touchdowns.
Gibbs even has 8 carries.
Gibbs has 8 carries for 40 yards. I mean, he's still looking efficient out there. 5 yards a carry. He's got 4 catches for 11 yards. Montgomery's got 2 catches for 20. So no one's got a touchdown receiving other than Amon-Ra. And you're right, no fumbles. Only Jordan Love and Jaden Reed. Excuse me. This Packers rushing attack has been atrocious all season so far.
That's accurate.
Not much better today. A.J. Dillon, 4 carries, 5 yards. Aaron Jones, 5 carries, 18 yards. I want nothing with this backfield right now.
A.J. Dillon's been absolutely brutal.
Yep.
A.J. Dillon, 107 yards on 39 carries.
On the season?
Yep, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I believe the Packers' offensive line is also beat up.
Either way, you'd still think it'd be better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now people can crowd the box, and there's not as much worry that he's going to beat you with his arm. Like Andy said, he's missing his receivers at the league high rate. I think over 30%.
Yeah, before you got on, Jordan, I heard a stat that Jordan Love is missing his receiver at the highest rate of any QB in the league. But so far, when he is on target, it's working out real well for him. 7 touchdowns and 1 interception or something like that. Yep, 7-1. What's the fact?
No. You know who's got the lowest completion percentage by a starting quarterback so far this season?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. So the number 2 team.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And then Burrow. And then our boy Fields.
What's the worst completion percentage? Joe Burrow.
55%. He's worse than Fields, Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett.
Or Burrow's playing on a bum leg, so I feel like it's got to be hard to get the ball downfield when you can't put any torque into it.
We'll give him a pass in the early goings.
Yeah,
but he's got to bring it up. Yeah, Jamar deserves better.
Jamar deserves way better. Do you have any fantasy questions, Jordan? Does it start?
I'd really like to know who I should play in my flex spot this week, and now it matters even more about going for a boom guy because I'm watching David Montgomery put up 25 on my team right now.
This is in our league or a different league?
This is in my other league. That's full point PPR.
Okay.
I'm actually sitting in a decent spot being 2-1, knowing that my running backs were weak, and now I get Alvin Kamara back. James Conner has absolutely outperformed what I thought he was going to do at this point, and Kyren Williams has been kind of the save of my season if he continues on the pace he's on. Right now, just being in a PPR league, I feel like even with Kamara coming back and not playing yet, I would like to see how the snap percentage and touches go for that backfield. I know they have some injuries to Jamal Williams, and I think that one of their other backs might be questionable as well. So I could see them throwing Kamara right back into being a workhorse role, or I could see it being not that way. So, I mean, right now being a full point PPR, I'm leaning towards not being able to take Kyren Williams or Alvin Kamara out just because of the bonus on the receiving end. I mean, Kyren Williams right now, I think, has had 22 targets as a receiver in the last 2 games, which is ridiculous for a running back. I just don't. James Conner has absolutely surprised me, especially last week in a tough matchup against Dallas. He's got another tough matchup this week against San Francisco. I just think it's one of those. It's really hard for me to play him over 2 guys that get targeted in the passing game as much as a Kamara or a Kyren Williams. When Connor right now, I think, is averaging 2 to 3 targets a game. I could see being a game easily against San Francisco, even if he has a good running day. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he could be like a 25 carry, 90 rushing yards type of day. And if he doesn't score or catch 5 passes, that ultimately puts you not in a great spot fantasy point wise.
No.
So I'm sitting there thinking, if I have Kamara and I have Kyren, and then I have CeeDee Lamb and I have Chris Olave, who to me right now, those 4, as long as Kamara is utilized the way that he has been in the past, to me are must starts. I'm not planning on sitting those guys outside of bye weeks. That last spot in my flex position could either be James Conner, George Pickens, Mike Evans, or Brandon Ayuk. I really don't like Mike Evans. Mike Evans is hard because he's been so hot for 3 weeks in a row, 17 points, I think, or better in each week. He has a touchdown every week he's had so far, but his average against Marshawn Lattimore is something like 2.5 catches for 36 yards. That one worries me a little bit, but at the same point, it's can you sit him? James Conner, we already talked about. So, I mean, I don't know that he gives me my best option in the flex spot for a high ceiling just because of the lack of catching production. I like Pickens this week just because that receiving core seems to be a little banged up, where it could just be a game where he has a ton of targets and a ton of receptions, whether he gets in the end zone or not. I mean, he's got that big playability on top of that. Ayuk, I think, could have a good week. It just worries me a little that he's still questionable likely to suit up, but maybe on a snap count, maybe if the 49ers blow out Arizona, they go away from having to throw the ball. I think those are a couple factors I have right now. I know I have Pickens sitting in my flex spot right now, but that's kind of my what do you do? Flip a coin, roll a dice, and I don't know who you guys like more in that option in a full point PPR league, but I'm open to listening to your advice and guidance.
Can you narrow it down to 3 and then Frank, give us your thoughts?
I'm going to say it's between Pickens, Connor, and Mike Evans.
Frank?
Pickens, Connor, Mike Evans. Once again, I like the skill set of Pickens. I think that Evans is going to give you more consistent production. And, I mean, who's Connor playing this week?
San Francisco.
That's going to be a hard matchup against Fred Warner and their D-line.
It was a tough matchup, and he will get the volume, but it could be a bad game flow where they're chasing points.
Yeah, I mean, if it's me, as much as I don't want to, I'm going Mike Evans.
But pretty close.
I hate the guy.
but pretty close choice between him and Pickens. You'd have Pickens next on that list.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I do just because of the matchup. I mean, Pickens got Houston, so not a good team, but they could easily fall behind the way that Stroud's been playing. I could see a world where they're passing the ball. I don't like their offense right now. I don't think they know what they're doing in the run game. I think that Pickett's struggling in the passing game, and Baker's doing a decent job airing it out. So give me the model of consistency in Mike Evans with the ups Pickens if you want to roll the dice. But I mean, Evans still has plenty of upside in the tank. I think he's the way to go.
I agree.
If it helps you make a pick, I need an even bigger ceiling because David Montgomery just put in his 3rd rushing touchdown and is now sitting at 31 fantasy points.
Who's Devin A-Chain?
Yeah.
David Montgomery's the new top back in the league.
What?
David Montgomery's a bum.
You don't say that.
Yeah. He's good, man. Everyone slept on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the score was 30-17. There must have been a penalty, and they got a first down.
There's a penalty. Yep.
Wow, Packers shooting themselves in the foot. They looked like they were coming back, but so with that said, Jordan, would you try to chase some sort of ceiling, or because I think Mike Evans has a better floor?
And I think the hardest part is that's what I'm chasing as of right now is I'm going to try, like, if David Montgomery would have been shut down, maybe I go the safer floor because I think I have guys that, I mean, it's still one of those weeks. My team, I feel like, is deep enough and good enough that if they all have games that they're capable of, I can wipe out the David Montgomery 30-point week that this guy's going to wind up with. But that's the tough part with the Thursday night football game is you find yourself trailing by a guy that should have only put up, I mean, he's averaging 12 points a game. Like, fine, like I could sit there and stomach 17, 18, but like to see him sitting at 31 right now, I think the tough part is if it wasn't for the Saints matchup and how much success that defense has had against Mike Evans, I agree with Frank. I think Mike Evans has just as big of a ceiling as Pickens does. I think just based on matchup this week, Pickens might have a higher ceiling, but I agree with Frank that Evans has got the safer floor.
And I mean, let's not sleep on the fact that right now Mike Evans is the wide receiver 5 on the season.
So it's like, do you really try to get cute this week and go against that? Because I think I'd be more kicking myself to see Mike Evans put up 20 and watch Pickens put up 11 and
Has
go,
Pickens ever had a multi-touchdown game? Because I don't think he has. Ever.
I'm not sure.
In his career, I don't think he has
looking
either.
At ceilings, if you're looking at ceilings,
Yeah.
Mike Evans put up
because
160, 150 yards last week. So
yeah, I feel like I don't truly know that Pickens' ceiling is even higher than Mike Evans' ceiling.
That's what I was trying to say is I don't agree. I think that this week would be the only reason I would consider maybe being a slightly higher ceiling just because of matchup base. But I'm with you. Like, I think on any given week and the way Mike Evans has showed so far, he has just as high of a ceiling as Pickens does. He's clearly one of Baker Mayfield's favorite red zone targets right now, where that wasn't necessarily the case for Tom Brady. Chris Godwin and even their bum tight ends seem to be bigger red zone targets for Tom Brady the last couple of years he was there than Mike Evans has been. So
to answer your question, Andy, Pickens has never had a multi-touchdown game. He's got 5 career touchdowns.
Okay.
And it's crazy to think what he could have done week 2. He had 127 yards on 4 catches, but he had six targets that he didn't haul in. You know, he could have had a much bigger game. Anywho, only 2 career 100-yard games. So, I mean, I'm definitely going Mike Evans, even despite the matchup. I think that they could be more competitive, so they might be throwing the ball more too. So,
I think Mike Evans too, like you said, he's got the resume to back it up. And again, I think it's one of those like trying to be too cute about a Pickens play just because of what you might worry about with matchup. You're going to kick yourself more sitting Mike Evans if he goes off than if you're sitting there going, hey, I went with Mike Evans. He's wide receiver number 5. He's been consistent 3 weeks in a row, and he throws up a dud game with 5 or 6 points. Like, it's easier to stomach that. Even if Pickens goes off going like, yeah, Mike Evans is outperforming the guy by 25 spots in the wide receiver ratings.
Is this a full point PPR or half point?
Yes, full point.
Which one? Full point. Then yeah, I definitely like Mike Evans, even if he doesn't score the touchdown, which I mean he's got a touchdown every game so far. But if he doesn't get the touchdown, I still see him hauling in, 6 to 8 catches at least, and getting 60 yards at least. I think that's his floor. So I think you're looking at least 12 points. As long as he doesn't go jack some guy in the face.
That, again, played into my little bit of decision when I had Pickens sitting in there at the beginning, was like, not only does Marshawn Lattimore typically own Mike Evans, statistically speaking, but there has been the altercations where they've both been ejected before the half was done, and it's like, okay, no more points the rest of the game.
And that could easily happen this weekend.
Has Pickens ever been ejected?
I don't think so.
He seems like a guy that would get ejected.
So why do you say that?
He's gotten into some scuffles on the sidelines. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you like Mike Evans, Frank? Is it because he has those star tattoos, or?
No.
Frank hates Mike Evans because he was a Mike Evans owner. So he would sit him or whatever when he had his huge games, or he would just have him in because it's Mike Evans and he'd have his bad game. Yeah, I get why you hated him.
The league started in like 2017 or whatever. I'm not sure when we started. And he was just one of those guys that he'd be consistent throughout the year. He would never go off. Like if you're looking at 2017, he had one 100 yards game. And even in that game, he didn't have a touchdown. So like he's getting consistent points, but never going off. Later on, when Brady was there, he'd go off more. But he always seemed to let me down when I needed him. And I just
when you
I was
needed him the
over it. And
most,
then
he
the
wasn't
ejection,
the hero you needed.
Right. Week 2 last year.
He's like
was the
Aaron
ejection.
Rodgers in the playoff.
He had 3 catches, 61 yards, no touchdowns, gets ejected, and then he's suspended the following week. I'm like, come on, I need this. And then, I don't know. The same thing, like, I don't know, did he get ejected in 2021? Because I see he was inactive the game after New Orleans, too. And the New Orleans game, he only had 1 catch for 14 yards. And
Yep.
it's like games like those, he'll throw up. Like, in 2021, he had a game
It's like
of
when he
24
faces
yards,
like a truly good
47 yards,
DB, he'll like get
16
pissed.
yards, 14 yards. Yeah. He had under 50 yards in like
Is that
half
what it
of
is?
the matchups.
Every time he faces a corner who's actually of value,
Actually,
he just ends up punching him.
Probably. He might be a dirty player. I don't know.
Andy, I'm looking at my team in your league. Next week is going to kill me with bye weeks. Whoever gets to play me next week, have fun with your free win.
It couldn't have been me, huh?
No,
At
it's
least you didn't get the league high points.
It's Phil Liu. I've got Amari Cooper on bye, Jerome Ford on bye, Austin Eckler on bye, Justin Herbert on bye, Deontay Johnson's still hurt, Chubb is on injury, and Kareem Hunt is on bye. And that's the week that Jonathan Taylor's eligible to come back. So Zach Moss is projected for like 5 points. I'm projected for like 80 that week.
See, I like that though. You get the bye weeks out of the way, and then you don't have to worry the whole.
Just
rest
one
of the
week.
True, and if you look at it, it's not like my team is that god-awful that week. I got C.J. Stroud, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Zach Moss, Damian Pierce, Dallas Goedert, Cortland Sutton, and Nico Collins.
Yeah,
So, we'll see. Phil's team isn't all that great either. I don't know how he's 2-1 and in 4th place or whatever he is, because he's literally got Bijan, Justin Jefferson, and Tua, and that's it.
Well, and Bijan, as we know, is not getting it in the end zone so far this season. Just one
Let me ask this question. I don't know what all you guys have been talking about on the podcast so far. I offered a trade in my PPR league we were just talking about.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to upgrade either a running back or wide receiver spot, just because my team, I feel like, I'm not desperate to make a trade because I think I'm deep enough that if I have some injuries or during bye weeks, my team's still going to be strong. I just hate having to make these 4-player decisions every week for who's in my flex spot. The guy that I offered, I tried to trade for Justin Jefferson, and I tried to trade for Bijan Robinson. Both teams are 0-3. The team that has Justin Jefferson, their starting running back is Rachaad White, and their second running back is Tyler Algier.
Okay.
They have Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, and their next best receiver on the team is Michael Thomas. He's 0-3. I offered him James Conner and his pick of Mike Evans, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk. He can take 2 out of those 3 guys. So let's say he took Pickens, Evans, Conner just for Justin Jefferson. And he turned it down.
This is a redraft league?
It's a redraft, no keeper, no dynasty. And he's 0-3. 0-3. Would easily start both my wideouts after trading Jefferson away, and he would easily be starting James Conner over Rachaad White or Tyler Algier.
I would accept that trade all day.
That's what I thought. He told me it was not a fair trade. I went, it's not fair. I'm giving up way more value, but you need more people, and I just need one piece.
Yeah. You got to start whatever.
I offered
8 to
that
10
same
positions.
I offered that same deal to the guy with Bijan, and I offered it for Bijan and Sky Moore because I just took a guy that was like a throw-in, somebody he would probably have dropped if he got into the trade, and he turned it down as well. His team is also 0-3, and he has no wide receivers.
If I'm the Bijan owner, I'm more likely to do it, obviously.
I get that. Justin Jefferson's the number one fantasy scorer by average points per week. I mean, I know that he hasn't had the big week like a Mostert and Tyreek Hill had that monster week, but I mean, he's just Justin Jefferson without scoring touchdowns is like 25 points a week in PPR. Right. He's just a catching and yardage machine.
Yeah. So if I have the Jefferson side of that deal, I'm turning it down. The Bijan side, I think it's worthwhile to get a. As much as I don't like having James Conner, he's usually productive. He's doing well so far this season. James Conner and either Pickens or Mike Evans.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I go Mike Evans and James Conner. I would take that in a heartbeat for Bijan.
Yeah,
he's just not doing what we expected.
No, I think that offense in a whole. I think the problem there is the offense in a whole is not doing what was expected.
Right, and that plays into the running backs a lot. You see it with some of these other guys who just aren't performing. Trying to think, like a Derrick Henry, even like he's not doing what he normally does. There's some other guys. Yeah, I would take that from the Bijan side. And you said it's redraft, no keepers?
Yep, redraft, no keeper. Yeah. I just figured typically this part of the season, week 4, week 5, is when people start to panic a little bit, whether you're doing better than you thought or doing worse than you thought. And to me, if I'm an 0-3 team where I'm clearly weak in more than one spot, I would always trade for more to give up one of my best. I mean, I think it's kind of how me and you approach our Dynasty Baseball League. Like if I'm going to give up an Aaron Judge, but I'm going to get back a starter, a starting pitcher, a first-round pick, and a minor leaguer, like I'm taking that all day long.
At this point in time in his career, yeah, for sure.
So I get the argument. Like I would completely understand the turning it down if it was one of those where it's like, yeah, you're offering 3 good players for one great player, but like people don't always factor in, are those guys going to be able to start weekly in the lineup you're trading them to? And I think most people leave that part out. They go, look, I offered these 3 guys for this one guy. They're stupid not to take it. Like that was the first thing I looked at. I'm like, Mike Evans would start for you. George Pickens would start for you. And Connor would start for you. Like it automatically makes his team probably 20 to 25 points better weekly, even with losing Jefferson. And obviously stacking Jefferson on my team makes my team, when there are no bye weeks, absolutely loaded. But I just thought it was made sense for both sides.
I agree. I think they're fair trades. Let's end the episode on a highlight. I want to give props out to one fantasy player in particular, and that is Mr. T.J. Hawkinson. He is having a good year at tight end. He is putting up wide receiver-like numbers. If you had said T.J. Hawkinson was your guy, he's going to rival Travis Kelce's production this year, I believe you are correct. So have a good night, everyone. This ends our episode of Touchdown Nerdcast, and we will see you next time. Thanks to Frank, Jordan, and the Pump.
Peace.
Adios.
Bye.